this is the overview of talk tonight, which will include interactive gadgets, good and bad outcomes for cognitive development, language and communication skills, other bad outcomes, combating bad outcomes. As you can see from the table, I've just highlighted what these gadgets could possibly be. Gadgets can provide educational and entertainment opportunities to children. However, excessive or inappropriate use affects the child's mental development. I am going to talk about the bad and good outcomes of cognitive development and language and communication skills. Cognitive development. Certain educational apps, games, and programs can enhance the child's cognitive skills, such as problem solving, critical thinking, and memory. This may help the child build innovative thinking, investigation skills, creativity, and strategic thinking. However, excessive use of gadgets may prevent the development of important cognitive abilities that are better developed through real-world experiences and social interaction. On this slide, I'm going to discuss the issue about language and communication skills. Gadgets can promote language development through educational apps, ebooks, and communication tools. Excessive viewing without proper supervision with caregivers may lead to opportunities for face-to-face communication and impact on language development and social skills development. One of the other outcomes, bad outcomes, I'm going to talk about is attention and concentration. Frequent exposure to fast-paced visual stimulating content on the gadget contribute to reduced attention and difficulty in concentration, especially when children switch between different apps and games. This can affect their ability to focus on tasks that require sustained attention, like reading and studying. One of the other bad outcomes is sleep disruption. Use of gadgets, especially before bedtime, can disrupt the pattern and quality of sleep. The blue light, which is transmitted by the screens, interferes with the production of melatonin, which is important for controlling. Poor sleep quality and quantity impacts on the function of mood, and the overall well-being of the child. The next topic which I will deal with is social and emotional development. Excessive screen time limits opportunities for real-world social interaction, which is important for children's social and emotional development. Over-reliance on gadgets for entertainment and communication can lead to reduced empathy, difficulty in understanding non-verbal cues, and challenges in building and maintaining real-life relationships. Gadgets can also affect physical health and behavior in children. Children sitting using gadgets can lead to problems such as obesity, musculoskeletal problems, especially in the hand, which is called the carpal tunnel syndrome, and of course, poor overall fitness. These physical problems indirectly affect the mental well-being and cognitive function. One of the other concerns about gadgets is the development of attention deficit hyperactivity disorders in children. Excessive use of devices can negatively affect a child's learning abilities and their ability to self-regulate and contribute to their attention deficit, cognitive delays, increased impulsivity, and impaired learning. Another bad outcome is addiction. Prolonged use of gadgets can lead to addiction. Another concerning bad outcome of gadgets is to eyes. Good eyesight depends upon staring at things of varying distances. Another concern, of course, is the reduced interaction. Children can easily play on their own and inherit the skill of talking from TV, but fail when socializing with other people. It is important for parents and caregivers to strike a balance when it comes to children using gadgets. Encouraging a healthy mix of activities, including outdoor play, reading, creative pursuits, and social interaction. This results in a well-rounded mental development while minimizing the potential impact of excessive gadget use. So how can we help combat these bad outcomes? It's important that parents or caregivers realize they can play a very important role in this aspect. For instance, you need to know the ratings of the games and the television program your child is engaged with. Do not allow gadgets in your child's room. Rather, tell stories or read a book. You could make media rules, for example, setting time limits on how often or how long your child is allowed to use any gadget. You need to monitor your child's media consumption, including video games, television, movies, and the internet. Also, one of the things you can do is you must set screen time limits on gadgets. For instance, you could set 1 hour per day during the week and 3 hours on weekends per day. It's also important to communicate with your child about what to observe in games, television programs, and movies. And of course, ensure that your child gets enough of notes. Please note that whenever the child's eyes and brain are stimulated, it might take 1 and even up to 2 hours before the child falls asleep. Ensure that your child enjoys outdoors. Take walks, even in your own yard. Ensure that the child participates in a lot of physical activity to also assist the child to prevent the child from getting obese. Ladies and gentlemen, this is briefly, I hope you heard me, what I would like to share with you about this concern about the development of children now that we have gadgets. Thank you for your attention.
Now I'm sure Pearl has willing brain to answer any questions. I just want to say that working with some of the OTs that we work with, they even say that 1 hour per day can be too much if the child has any basic problems, that they should be even less than 1 hour. What do you feel about that, Pearl?
Yes, it's true, Sean. I do agree with them.
And the other thing that the OT said was that there shouldn't even be background TV on in the house if there's a child there. So they shouldn't be able to sort of passively watch TV in the background over and above, I suppose, the limited time that they're spending themselves on the gadget.
You know, Sean, like I've highlighted, when you look at television with your child and you involve your child and you share the television with your child, it's very important to find things that you feel will be of value to the child. And don't have the child have the brain wander and see the screen move in, move out. Always make sure it's a constructive situation. For instance, I will say this. Let's say there's an advert coming. Just mute the TV, because then that's what they always learn and forget why you were watching the TV after all. So that's why I say it's very important to monitor. Don't use the TV to replace you as a parent.
Yeah, I think we all need to hear that the parent remains the most important factor in the child's life when they're at
Oh,
home.
yes, definitely.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions from other people?
May I? So I'm just wondering what then happens if we stay in a flat and there isn't actually any recreational places that we could go to. How do we then combat, well, depending on the TV for almost everything? How do we work around that?
I've highlighted, okay, a few activities, for instance, which you can do with the child. Read for the child. You can read, you can set stories, have toys that the child uses to build. And then also, when you take walks, maybe to the shop and all that, go with the child. There are also in a lot of areas, parks. You can just go and take a walk with your child at the park.
I was particularly just wondering because, well, I do have a lot of books that I have in our library and toys and all that, but it seems they get bored quite easily. So these activities, what kind of, and also just getting out of the.
One, okay.
So sorry about that. So sorry.
No, don't worry. One
was-
of the things is very important. When you buy a child a toy, you must know why you're buying the toy. Don't buy a toy because it's a toy. You buy a toy because you want a certain aspect of your child to develop. For instance, you might buy the child, a boy child, a car. What will a boy child to appreciate about a car instead of banging, and also want to see what's this thing that's inside here, which I am missing, you see. And for instance, other toys like dolls, some actually talk, so the child who can learn to talk back, and that helps improve the child's speech.
Roberto, have you tried things like Play-Doh? Play-Doh can keep a child used for a very long time.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you.
Okay, let me show you one of my little toys which I have here in my practice. And this is how I get peace when parents are talking to me. Children love these things. And these are blocks. They always make sure, even those who've never used them, you can see they really try hard. So it means children's minds are very inquisitive and are open to things.
Yeah, I suppose I need to honestly do better in my toy shopping.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the other thing also, which I hope you'll try. You know, when you read to children, they learn to appreciate how to connect words and the picture. On other occasions, just open a page and then ask the child, what's happening here? You'll be surprised at the story you will be told by the child.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen that really happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it just remains to say thank you, Pearl. I think you've given us all a bit of more things to think about. And I hope everyone here feels like I do, that a little bit less TV time is better for children and a little bit less games. I think Anki knows as well that we have a lot of children, no matter what you're showing them, they will convert it into something from a game, a screen game. I'm not talking about another game, but it will become the animation of some computer game that they've played or something like that. So you do a pig puzzle and it becomes a pig from Minecraft. You do something else and it becomes a something else. Not so, Anki. We have it like an ongoing conversation with the children, but it's never actually about the real object in front of them. It's what it takes them back to. So I think then it shows that they are living a little bit more in a fantasy world than with the real things in front of them. And we need to get them focusing on the real things. But thank you, Pearl. And I'm sure everyone did see your,
Natasha.
You did put your email address and your phone number there. So I presume that parents are most welcome to contact me.
There's a hand there, Sean.
Sorry?
There's a hand up there.
Hi.
Natasha.
Oh, there we are. Natasha, go ahead.
Thank you for what you shared tonight. I was just wondering, what is your response to parents who say, oh, but these PlayStation games are so educational, like, Minecraft, it's so good, they can build stuff and it teaches them things. And then they use excuses like that to just place their children in front of the TV for hours. How do you educate parents on, things like that when they've got these good arguments?
Okay. Like I said, it's very important children to participate. Watching television, not that it can't teach, is passive, relatively speaking, compared to you actively participating with the teaching of your child. And I always tell people, your child might, that's why I highlighted the fact that you find that in the end, you can talk the TV language, but can't talk the language in the house because TV doesn't allow interaction, one-way learning process. And if, let's say, you are using that to teach your child, you have to follow up. That your child watches television and has learned something, you should always try to check what did your child benefit from that TV viewing.
And then with the PlayStation games, where the children and parents argue and say no, they're learning something, they're participating, they're doing stuff. It's not just sitting there. You're picking up skills. How do you help parents see that it's still screen time and it's still, cognitively it may be stimulating in some ways, but it's draining in other ways?
I think then you just refer them to the recording we're going to make available and tell them that there's a lot of negative effects besides the positive ones. The positive ones I think are really outweighed by the negatives.
I think the issue about PlayStation games is also very depends on what you are playing, one, and two, what you also want your child to learn out of that. You shouldn't use PlayStation games to replace your responsibility of acting with your child.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to add a little something here. I would say also if we think about like how children learn, especially between 3 and 6, it's all with like their hands and it's sensory orientated. So even when they are playing with the PlayStation, they're not actually engaging with the movement that they're really doing. So if they're playing with the video controller, they're moving an object, but they're not actually pushing and moving the object. And that's how the child learns, you know, in between that 3 to 6 years old. And I saw something really quite scary this last week, just on Instagram. They've created these AI robots that kind of engage with children, and it's a toy, and it's teaching them how to have a conversation, and it's a very friendly robot that is very, you know, entertaining and exciting. But my heart sank when I saw that, because it's still programmed discussion. You know, it's not free organic discussion like we have, human to human. So it feels like technology is one step ahead of us. And it's like we just want to bring them back to, you know, the core of playing with one another. And yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah.
Okay. I still feel, much as maybe in future AI will be so developed, our human interaction is still very important, guys. That's why we are having we need to be interacting. That's why we fight, because we don't understand each other. And even in very small and very minor matters, you find that somebody just gets very upset, and yet it wasn't meant to be. So human interaction, I feel, can never be replaced. And just to share a bit, now that you've spoken about AI, yes, I have gone into it just to check a few things. But I tell you, it can never replace the human action that's important for human beings. And of course, here and there, I don't know where they get the information from. At times, it can also make serious mistakes.
Absolutely, because it's still so new. So imagine the children that are learning this, and it's still in a kind of prototype form. It can be quite intense. Yeah, fascinating. Thank you so much, Dr. Pearl. Really interesting.
Thank you. Welcome. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Hands up? No. Okay, Pearl, thank you very much. I think you've said it all. I hope everyone has enjoyed it, and I think they will have, and gained something from it. And thank you. And thank you, Palesa, for being there in the background and being the technical side of the evening. So it's been good to have you there. Thank you all for coming, and I wish you all a good rest of the evening, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
خلصوا ولا شو؟ خالد تطلع يا هان.
Oh, Pearl's gone. Okay, let me close the meeting.